I've always been fascinated with machinery. I don't know, young age, Legos, I'll admit it. Yeah, homie saying Legos. Hi, I'm David Mulcahy, AKA Homie. I own Salted Metals in Sandy, Utah. What we do here is we do a lot of custom fab, cut and drop. Pretty much started the cut and drop in Utah 30 years ago. Me and a previous partner owned Retro Design, started that. Custom flashings, roof panel runouts. At the time when we started, there was probably 5 panel machines out here and we had 2 of them. Since then, it's blown up. In the last 5 years, the potential of metal is just off the hook. We do some crazy stuff, interior, exterior, a lot of chimney hoods. Why am I here? That is a long story. There's quite a few people that know that story. I was born and raised in California, raised by my mom, single parent. We moved a lot all over Southern Cal, but basically I was born and raised in Highland Park, East LA. I had a troubled youth at times, got myself into some predicaments being around a lot of the environment down there, as I like to say, and it caught up to me. And unfortunately, I ended up doing some time down there. And my brother had moved out here at the time when I was incarcerated and got his life together as far as he moved out here with his girlfriend who had a scholarship to the University of Utah. And she was friends with a girl that her dad owned, Ray Keller Construction. So that was my entry door into this industry, was Ray Keller Construction. At the time, I got out and I was doing restitution to the state of California. It was 1,000 days. My mom and my stepsister came down and handed me an airplane ticket to Utah. So it's a one-way ticket. I asked her when I was coming back, meaning my mom, and she told me never. I ended up coming out here and changing my life in this industry. I was fortunate enough to get with Ray Keller, and my introduction was Ray Keller did a lot of LDS churches at the time, the full facades, the tile roofs, the ridge vent systems, and the steeple setting. So I got to be a part of that. With, the first 5 years, I was just a part of that. I was able to transition not just from the roofing side, but into the metal side too, which was the facades on it, manufacturing and fabricating that plus installing it. So I was able to do churches all across the US. My uncles all had race cars, 55 Chevys, 57 Chevys. They were always trying to make them go faster, hanging out at Lyons Avenue in California, drag racing. Being around racing, I got involved in a gang alternative program, got around racing, and it kind of stuck with me, being a part of it, being a part of something that was good and not bad, I guess you could say. And that's where the whole machinery came, is actually race cars and lowrider cars, just being around them, having them clean, every part moving, checking every nut and bolt. It's just stuck with me. Yeah, I put it into my machinery, the brakes, the shears. The panel machine came along and that was a whole nother ball game. I wanted it spotless. We were constantly, my guys hated me. Every Friday we were cleaning it, making sure everything was running, all the limit switches, everything was running properly. I don't have a big elaborate shop. I mean, I could. I choose to grow it slow, between Retro Custom Metals, Retro Design, Salted Metals, owning all 3, being a part of the evolution of sheet metal. I like to keep it small and quality control, as I like to say, making sure everything's bent right, making sure my customers are happy, taking on the jobs that, these people want someone that's gonna be on site. And I've trained quite a few guys, but I'm still running the panel machines, me and my son. Both my boys have, at an early age, 13, 14, knew how to change out a panel machine and run it. Myrna is a big majority owner of this, female minority owned. Obviously, I run it, day-to-day operations. Myrna's learning the industry. She's been a part of it for 25 years, but the last 5 years, she's taken a bigger role understanding and learning it.
So, homie, one of the things that put you guys on the map early on in your career were dragon scales, hand fabbed out of copper. And let's talk a little bit about, where that idea came from. And you guys were one of the first ones to do that in this area. So let's talk about it.
Well, dragon scale. It was actually me and Rich came up with this as far as he was building a custom home, wanted to set off different things with it. I'd seen some European architecture back then in books because online was in its infancy, and it struck me that there was one picture of I think it was over in Berlin or somewhere, they had a building that had all these square shingles on it. And I was like fascinated with that. I was like, wow. And I think it was copper and lead coated copper. And I was just in awe of it, like the beauty, the way it looked. So I thought, oh, I'm gonna try to come up with my own. And somehow, I forgot if it was my son Justice or someone said, oh, those look like dragon scale. And it kind of just stuck, like, oh, homie's dragon scale.
Nice.
So I've done Rich's bay windows and several chimney hoods out of dragon scale. It just kind of offered it to a couple architect designers, and they loved the idea. And back then, copper, 25 years ago, it was like everybody wanted copper on their house.
What's the most of these that you made for one job?
The one project we just did, the full house up there in Bountiful, probably 5,000.
Holy cow.
And that was a family affair. The family came in and, we just sat. Obviously my guys do it in the shop, but I was pressed under time and they were willing to pay extra. So I just brought in the family,
there you go.
The 5 of us, and we just sat there and had a heyday making them.
So one of the things that, you've talked about really being important to you is the quality of what you make, right? And why is that so important, when there's a lot of opportunities that, you could still sell a product, but, sometimes people will buy something that's not quality. Why is that important to you?
Quality's always been important to me. That's your name on something. And by no means am I perfect. I've made my fair amount of mistakes and done some things that I wasn't sure of, and I went ahead and did it knowing my better judgment. And I think it's a process of learning, understanding and learning, and trial and error. You evolve and learn from your mistakes. I've had to rip down parts of roofs that just weren't put on right. And it's been my fault too. I've gotten in a hurry, I've gotten overzealous and rushing and time frame, and I've just learned to monitor that and take a step back and say, hey, this is my house, how would I want it?
So what would you say to the kids, who's coming up? Maybe they're not sure about their career, they're looking at a trade. What's in it for them when it comes to roofing and metalworking?
I'm gonna be honest, I started out with nothing, and and I'm not saying I'm a millionaire or I'm a success story. I'm just saying there is a need for this good quality, not cutting the corners, not trying to cheap the customer. There's a living here. I mean, obviously in the last 5 years, everybody's jumping into the architectural sheet metal industry. Everybody wants a part of it. For the next generation, whether it's a troubled youth or kid coming out of college, there is a future here. It's satisfying to see a completed project, building something, making it, and then showing it at the end.
What's the future for Salted Metals? Where do you see you guys going?
Just providing a service for people that want it, that still need it, growing slowly, with Retro Design and Retro Custom, they both blew up and grew way too fast. Retro Design would still be here if 2009 wouldn't have crashed everybody out, but unfortunately that happened, and I was able to bring back with Retro Custom Metals, and there's a backdrop with that where I decided to walk away from that and start Salted Metals, being a family-oriented business. I wanted my family involved. I didn't want any partners anymore, any investors. I just wanted to do it by myself this time. And it's been a big learning curve. It's been stressful at times, but at the end of the day, it's my family and me, and I love it.